It was just another busy evening at the upscale restaurant, the kind of place where the rich and powerful often dine. The air was thick with the clinking of wine glasses, laughter, and the low murmur of important conversations. Yet, amidst all the luxury and opulence, one waitress, Lily, stood unnoticed by most. She moved between the tables, trying her best to balance trays of food, taking orders, and smiling at customers. But underneath her polite demeanor, she was feeling something else entirely, the weight of being invisible. But little did anyone know, Lily wasn't just a humble waitress. Her story was about to take a dramatic turn, one that would shake the very foundations of the restaurant and everyone in it. For weeks, Lily had endured the harsh whispers behind her back, the cruel comments from customers, and the condescending stares from the staff. It seemed as though everyone found it acceptable to treat her like she was less than human, just because of her position in life. But what they didn't know was that Lily wasn't just any ordinary woman serving food to the rich. She had a secret, a powerful secret, and it was about to come to light. It all started when one particularly rude customer decided that Lily wasn't moving fast enough. He raised his voice, demanding to speak to her manager, and just like that, all eyes turned to her. She stood there, heart pounding, trying to keep her composure, but the humiliation was unbearable. As the man continued to berate her, the rest of the restaurant fell silent, waiting for the manager to show up and hopefully smooth things over. But in that moment, Lily didn't know that someone else had been watching her from the corner of the room. A few seats away, a man in a crisp suit sat at a table with a quiet but intense look in his eyes. He had been watching the scene unfold, and something about the way Lily held herself, despite the bullying, caught his attention. It wasn't just her beauty that was captivating, it was her resilience. Her poise in the face of harsh words and mocking stares spoke volumes about who she really was. But even as he admired her from afar, he didn't know who she truly was either. He was just another rich CEO, one of many who frequented the restaurant. What he didn't know was that Lily wasn't just another waitress. She was his sister, though neither of them was aware of it. Meanwhile, the tension in the restaurant was rising. The manager arrived, trying to defuse the situation, but the damage had already been done. The rude customer continued to shout, making Lily's face burn with shame. But just as she was about to turn away and walk to the kitchen, a voice stopped her in her tracks. It was calm but powerful, cutting through the noise and bringing all attention back to the man who had been observing her. "I think you owe this young woman an apology," the voice said. It wasn't a suggestion, it was a demand. The rich CEO stood up, his expression firm as he faced the rude customer. The man blinked, clearly not expecting anyone to intervene. But before he could respond, the CEO continued, "In fact, you should leave now." The entire restaurant seemed to hold its breath as the rude customer fumbled, trying to figure out how to respond to a man who clearly wasn't afraid of confrontation. But what he didn't know was that this wasn't just any rich CEO. This was one of 7 brothers who were known to be fiercely protective of their own. And Lily, the woman they'd been quietly shielding for years, had no idea that the brothers, who had been watching over her, were about to step forward and make their presence known. As the rude customer finally muttered an apology and hurried out of the restaurant, the CEO turned his attention back to Lily. He looked at her with an intensity that made her feel both seen and vulnerable at the same time. She had no idea who he was or why he had stepped in to defend her. But in that moment, she felt something shift inside her. For the first time in a long while, someone had stood up for her. And it wasn't just anyone. It was someone who clearly had the power to change everything. Little did she know, the drama wasn't over. That evening, Lily's life would take a turn she could never have imagined. After the confrontation, the CEO approached her, his demeanor now warm, but with an air of mystery. "I need to talk to you," he said simply. Lily's heart raced as she wondered what he could possibly want with her. Was he just a good Samaritan, or was there something more? As he led her to a quieter corner of the restaurant, the air between them grew heavy with unspoken questions. "I know you probably don't remember me," the CEO began, his voice soft, yet carrying an undeniable weight. "But I'm one of your brothers, and I've been looking for you." Lily blinked in confusion, her mind racing. Brothers? She had no memory of any siblings, let alone rich CEOs, who might have been protecting her all this time. But before she could ask more, another voice interrupted, and another CEO brother stepped into the conversation, followed by another and another. Slowly, like pieces falling into place, the truth started to unravel. It turned out that Lily wasn't just some waitress. She was the long-lost daughter of one of the wealthiest families in the country, and she had 7 brothers, each one a powerful CEO in their own right. They had been watching over her from afar, making sure she was safe, even when she had no idea they existed. But now, as the pieces of her past began to come together, Lily realized something even more shocking. The people who had been bullying her weren't just strangers. They were connected to her family's past in ways she never expected. As the night went on and more truths were revealed, Lily's life began to change before her eyes. She went from being the ignored waitress to the woman at the center of an unfolding drama that no one could have predicted. Her brothers, each with their own motivations and struggles, were now determined to bring her into their world and to show the people who had mistreated her just how wrong they were. But as the final brother stepped forward, looking at Lily with a serious expression, one thing was clear: this was only the beginning. The true test of her newfound family's loyalty was yet to come, and Lily, still in shock from everything she had just learned, had no idea that the real challenges were only about to begin. Would she be able to navigate the world of power, wealth, and family politics? Or would the past haunt her forever? The answers to those questions were still far from clear. Lily's heart raced as her 7 brothers stood before her, each one a towering figure in the world of business, wealth, and influence. She couldn't fully grasp what was happening. One moment, she was just a simple waitress struggling to make ends meet, and the next, she was faced with the truth that she was the heir to an empire. But it wasn't just the shock of her newfound family that weighed on her mind. It was the revelation of the dark forces lurking in the shadows, waiting to take advantage of her. The man who had spoken to her first, the one who had defended her in front of the rude customer, stepped forward again. His name was Ethan, the eldest of the 7 brothers, and he seemed to carry the weight of the family legacy on his shoulders. His sharp eyes, however, were filled with something far more intense than just business acumen. There was a sense of protection in them. He looked at Lily as if she were the most precious thing in the world, as if the years of searching for her had only made this moment more significant. "You don't remember us, do you?" Ethan's voice was gentle, but there was a pain hidden beneath his calm demeanor. "It's been a long time. Too long." Lily shook her head slowly, still processing the whirlwind of emotions inside her. I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me? Why was I left in the dark all these years?" Another brother, Luca, the second eldest, stepped in, his tone more direct, as if he couldn't hold back the truth any longer. "Because we were trying to protect you. You've been in danger ever since that night, when we lost you, and we couldn't let anyone find out about you. Not yet." "But why?" Lily's voice trembled. the questions piling up faster than she could answer them herself. What happened to me? What happened to our family? Ethan exchanged a glance with his brothers, and it was clear they all shared the same heavy burden of unspoken truths. Finally, Lucas sighed, the lines on his face deepening with a mixture of frustration and regret. You were taken from us, he began slowly. 15 years ago, our family was torn apart by a betrayal we never saw coming. Our father was involved in a dangerous deal with the wrong people, and in the chaos, you disappeared. We thought you were dead. For years we searched for you, but there were no leads. Until recently, Lily's mind reeled at the thought of being lost all these years, abandoned without a trace, while her brothers fought to keep their family safe. But what shocked her more was the revelation that someone close to her father had betrayed them, someone from within their own circle. It wasn't just a simple kidnapping. It was a betrayal that reached deep into the heart of the family's business dealings. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder, his grip firm yet reassuring. That's why we've kept our distance, Lily. To protect you. To keep the people who hurt us from finding you again. The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of their words hanging in the air. It was clear that while Lily was now surrounded by powerful men, she was still a pawn in a much larger game, one that involved not just family loyalty, but also danger from forces beyond her control. But I don't want to be a pawn, Lily said, her voice shaky but resolute. I've lived my life just trying to survive, trying to make something of myself. I don't want to be part of some grand plan. I want to make my own choices. The brothers exchanged uncertain glances, and it was clear they didn't fully know how to handle Lily's strong sense of independence. She was their sister, their family, and yet they had kept her in the dark for so long that she had built her life without them. How could they expect her to just step into their world? A world of high-stakes deals, corporate wars, and ruthless enemies. But before anyone could speak, the tension in the room escalated. A loud knock at the door interrupted the conversation, and Lily's heart skipped a beat. The brothers stiffened, their eyes narrowing with suspicion. Who could that be? Ethan muttered, his hand instinctively moving to the side of his jacket, where a hidden weapon was concealed. Another knock, louder this time, followed by a voice from the other side of the door. Mr. Ethan, we need to talk. It's about the deal with the Zhang family. The brothers exchanged uneasy glances. The Zhang family was one of the most powerful business rivals they had, and the fact that someone was interrupting them now, during such a crucial time, meant trouble. Lily's confusion deepened as the tension in the room became palpable. She had no idea what was going on, but it was clear that her family's business was far more complicated and dangerous than she had imagined. I'll handle it, Ethan said sharply, his voice cold and commanding. Lily, stay here. Don't go anywhere. The door opened, and one of the family's trusted associates entered, a man named Daniel. He was tall, sharp-featured, with the kind of cold eyes that suggested he had seen more than his fair share of danger. His presence made Lily uneasy, as though he had the power to control everything in the room with a single glance. Sir, we've received word that the Zhang family is planning something big. They're making moves that could destroy us. Daniel's voice was low, measured, but filled with urgency. And there's someone from our past that's come back, someone we thought we had eliminated. Lily's stomach dropped. The mention of the Zhang family made her realize how little she understood about the world she was now part of. And the idea that there were people from their past still lurking in the shadows, plotting against them, only added to the growing sense of danger. Who? Ethan asked, his voice tight with controlled rage. Daniel hesitated for a moment before answering. It's someone close to you. Your father's old business partner. The one who betrayed us all. Lily's mind raced, trying to piece together what this meant for her. Who had her father trusted enough to betray them? And what did this mean for her future? Was she going to be pulled into a war that she had no part in? Ethan turned to Lily, his expression hardening as he spoke. This is why we've kept you hidden. The people we thought were our allies have been playing a dangerous game, and now they know you're alive. They'll stop at nothing to get to you. Lily's world was spinning out of control. Her past, her present, and everything she thought she knew about herself were all unraveling. Her brothers were right. She had been in danger all along, but now it wasn't just about hiding. It was about surviving. And the question that loomed over everything was simple, yet terrifying. Who could she trust, and who would betray her next? The answers would come, but for now, they were as elusive as the family she had only just begun to understand. As the room grew tense, Lily realized that her life had just taken a turn she couldn't escape from. The danger was real, and it was closing in fast. The only question now was how far she was willing to go to protect herself and the family she had just discovered. The tension in the room had reached its breaking point. Lily felt the weight of everything pressing down on her. The secrets, the lies, the betrayals, her brothers, the very ones who had shielded her all these years, now looked at her with urgency, knowing that the stakes were higher than ever before. It wasn't just about protecting her anymore. It was about stopping an enemy who knew no boundaries. The Zhang family had made their move, and they had made it personal. Ethan turned sharply toward Daniel, his voice colder than ever. What? Do you mean eliminated? His eyes bore into the man, demanding answers. Daniel hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath. The person who betrayed us. He's still alive. We thought we got rid of him, but he's been pulling strings from the shadows, controlling the business deals, setting up alliances we didn't know about. His name is Marcus Shu. Lily's stomach dropped at the name. It was a name she'd never heard, but the sudden heavy silence in the room told her all she needed to know. Ethan's face twisted in a mixture of anger and disbelief. Marcus Shu. Ethan repeated under his breath. He was my father's closest ally. To think, all this time, he was the one behind it all. But why now? Why is he targeting Lily? Lily could barely hold back her panic. How does this involve me? Why is he coming after me? Ethan stepped forward, his face grim. Because, Lily, you're the key to it all. You're the heir to everything. The fortune, the company, the legacy. Marcus has been trying to destroy our family for years. And now that he knows you're alive, he'll do anything to take it all away. He doesn't just want the business. He wants to erase every trace of the Liu family, including you. A cold chill ran down Lily's spine as the reality of the situation hit her like a freight train. She had thought that all she needed to worry about was surviving as a waitress, scraping by, dealing with rude customers, and her own personal struggles. But now she realized she had been unknowingly tied to a much darker and more dangerous world. I don't want any part of this, Lily said, her voice shaky, but filled with determination. I didn't ask for any of this. You don't have a choice, Luca, the second eldest brother, said firmly. The moment Marcus found out you were alive, everything changed. You're already involved. Lily's gaze darted between her brothers, the powerful men who had spent years building their empire, fighting to keep it safe, and now finding themselves at war again with someone they once trusted. But she couldn't help feeling a deep sense of betrayal. She had spent her life alone, thinking she was just some forgotten orphan. Now, everything she thought she knew was crumbling. How do we stop him? Lily asked, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Ethan's eyes hardened as he glanced at his brothers. We've played his game for too long. It's time we put an end to it. But we'll need everything we've got. Our resources, our networks, our influence. We need to fight back, and we need to do it now. The room erupted into a flurry of activity as Lily's brothers began making calls, strategizing, and organizing their forces. She watched them, amazed at how quickly they could shift into action, each one moving with the precision and intensity of someone who had been trained for this moment. She wasn't just a bystander anymore. Her life was inextricably tied to the Liu family's survival. But just as the plan began to take shape, the ground beneath them shifted once again. The door burst open, and Marcus Shu's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. "It's too late, Ethan," Marcus said, stepping into the room with an air of smug confidence. "You've been playing a losing game from the start. Your precious sister is already mine, and nothing you do can change that." The brothers stood frozen, the air crackling with tension as Marcus's presence dominated the room. But Lily refused to be intimidated. She stepped forward, standing tall as she faced the man who had caused so much pain in her family's life. "I don't belong to you," she said, her voice steady. "You can't have me, and I'm not afraid of you." Marcus's smile faltered for a second, surprised by her sudden defiance. But then he chuckled, as if humoring her. "You think you can stop me, little girl? You're nothing but a pawn in this game. You always have been." Lily's brothers moved to protect her, but Ethan raised a hand, signaling them to hold back. "We've had enough of your games, Marcus. This ends now." A dangerous silence followed, thick with the weight of what was about to happen. The brothers had planned this moment for years, but Lily, for the first time in her life, realized that it was she who had the power to end it. It wasn't just about her family's legacy. It was about reclaiming her life, her choices, and her future. "You don't control me anymore," Lily said firmly. "And you never will again." The words hit Marcus like a slap in the face. For the first time, doubt flashed across his features. But it was too late. The family was united, stronger than ever. In that moment, they knew that Marcus's reign of terror was over. With swift precision, the brothers closed in, using their influence and resources to dismantle Marcus's plans. It was a battle they had been preparing for without even realizing it. A battle that would not just protect their business, but also reclaim their sister's future. In the end, Marcus was arrested, his empire crumbling beneath the weight of his own treachery. The Liu family had won, but for Lily, the true victory wasn't just in the family's success. It was in her own transformation. She had gone from a helpless waitress to a woman who controlled her own destiny, no longer a pawn in anyone's game. As she stood beside her brothers, watching them reclaim their power, Lily realized that family wasn't just about blood. It was about loyalty, trust, and the willingness to fight for each other. And in that moment, she knew that she had finally found her place. Not just in the Liu family, but in the world. The battle was over, but the story had only just begun.